Good afternoon, Oneberg and oneberg.com and Oneberg social media sites. I'm Brian Carruthers, and that was the Steelers getting annihilated by the Houston Texans. And please welcome a man who is already on the screen, Ed Troop.
What's going on, my man? Another rough afternoon for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You know, it's funny. I posted quickly on Oneberg at halftime with a Oneberg hot take, and it held true. The weather in Pittsburgh was way too nice today to even watch that game. And then the Steelers made it equally unwatchable on the other side by saying, we got nothing for you even to see. What a disaster.
Boy, isn't that the truth? And just really was the 49ers game part 2, but the only difference is the 49ers probably will end up going possibly to the Super Bowl in the NFC. I'm not too sure about the Texans, though we made them look like a Super Bowl team today, didn't we?
Oh, well, okay, so yes, when we lost in typical Pittsburgh fashion, when we lost to the Niners in opening day, which was a shock, we got our heads beat in and we were shocked. We didn't know where to go. And the answer was, they are probably going to go to the Super Bowl. Great. Where do you think the Texans are on their way to?
Well, they got a rookie quarterback, C.J. Stroud, who we made look very good today, too. And there was a time when the Steelers defense...
We made it look great.
Made it look great. There was a time when the Steelers defense, when they faced a rookie quarterback, and this goes back to really the Dick LeBeau days, but they were like unbelievably like 32-1 against rookie quarterbacks. They made their day very difficult. Didn't matter who it was. Tom Brady in his rookie year, Peyton Manning in his rookie year. Didn't matter. When the Steelers faced a rookie quarterback, they made the day miserable for him. Well, yes. It was the opposite. It was the opposite today. Our defense couldn't stop Stroud, couldn't stop the running game again. And then on offense, how about this statistic? 17 total yards halfway through the second quarter. Unbelievable.
Look, and we can break down this particular game, but you and I have had this discussion for a while. And I will stand by it when it's good and stand by it when it's bad. Kenny Pickett should never have been drafted in the first round. Let me finish. Our original post-Ben Roethlisberger plan was to have Mitch Trubisky drag us through last season, this season, and at the end of this season, we would think, well, we have somebody now who has kind of taken us and bridged us from Roethlisberger to the next. It was never Pickett. I will say, again, through good and bad, I will never understand Pickett. And today and this season so far, I will never understand Pickett.
Man, you said it exactly the way it should be said. That was the plan. They threw Kenny in there last year after Mitch struggled early, him not being the answer for him as well. But, you know,
hey, hold on one second. This guy, Chris Ireland, said, oh, look, two idiots talking sports. Chris, you look like X-Pac, dude. You look like a pirate, and it's 2023. Get the hell out of here. Sorry, Ed. What were you saying?
That's all right, man. He should chime in and tell us what he thinks of the Steelers.
What does a renegade pirate think about the Steelers? Go ahead.
But back to my point, though, you know, as much as I agree with what you just said about Kenny Pickett, the Steelers' problems go far beyond just Kenny Pickett. He's part of it, but it goes far beyond him. It goes far beyond Matt Canada. He called another crappy game today, just like he has pretty much during his entire tenure with the Steelers as an offensive coordinator. But the offensive line that they boosted up in the offseason, they simply can't block. They can't get the running game going. They can't give Kenny Pickett any time. No wonder Pickett got hurt. He was running for his life most of this game today. They can't get that right. Receivers aren't getting open. We're getting banged up now. Injuries are happening. Pickett might be out now for God knows how long. So now you're going to go to Mitch Trubisky. You know, the bottom line here too, though, I think the biggest takeaway for this game, we knew the offense struggled these last few games. Even the last two games in victory, they still struggled, right?
Yeah.
What wasn't happening was our defense, right? The 49ers, they looked crappy. Watt still made some plays, but then they got better against the Browns. They got a lot better against the Raiders last week. But man, oh man, did that defense take a huge step back today. I mean, back to the 49ers game, maybe even worse than that. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't defend the pass. Peterson got burned a bunch of times. Fitzpatrick didn't see him at all today. Watt and Highsmith didn't get any rushes today either. A few pressures, but no sacks. They just got beat up today.
Hey, and we're going to continue on our Steeler talk. Just want to let everybody know, coming up to bring a brief ray of sunshine on this Steeler cloud is the great Sally Wiggin. The Channel 4 legend will join us here in a few minutes. But Ed, what's wrong here? So put it in order. I mean, everything went wrong today, right? Every wheel came off of the train today. The wheels came off every single angle. But who do you put as like the number one person to blame? I mean, it's the blame game time, right? So who's number 1, 2, 3, and how do you put it? Because right now, like Brett just commented that Canada needs to go. Fine, I've heard that from week 1. Then it's like a bad relationship. Canada beat us a little bit, and we're like, we got to break up with them. Then things got better. He took us to dinner. We're 1-1. Then we're 2-1, and then now we're 2-2, and now he has to go again. But who do you put as number 1 as the first person that's like part of this blame game?
Well, I think the scariest part for Steeler fans right now is there's a lot of blame to go around. It's not just Canada. It's not just the offensive line. It's not just Kenny Pickett. It's not just the defense that looked awful today. There's a lot of problems with this football team now. They got a lot of things to clean up, and they got to do it in a hurry. They got Baltimore coming in here next week before their bye week. But to answer your question, as much as I love him, Mike Tomlin. I think this goes directly on Tomlin as the head coach for this team.
Wow.
I'm a huge Tomlin fan, but, man, they came out flat today. And I think it starts and ends with him. I think he'll tell you that in his press conference, as he always does too. But it starts and ends with the head coach. And historically, the Steelers have come out on these away games in which they should win. You're looking at everything on paper. You're listening to all the previews during the week and during the day that they're going to come out and just simply win this football game, and they come out flat. They come out flat as can be, and they lose the game. They get beat by a team they shouldn't. This is the type of loss. Let's say the Steelers do pull things together and finish 9-8 again, right?
Okay. Let's say that happens. But by the way, that is that's kind of like an extreme example at this moment because we don't know that. But go ahead. Okay, let's say.
But they still have going into today, I would have said they still have a weak schedule, but now maybe nothing looks weak. But let's say they do finish 9-8 and miss the playoffs. We will look back at today, and that'll be the game and the reason why they missed the playoffs, losing to a game like Houston on the road. Now, in the Texans' defense, I will say this. They went into Jacksonville last week and upset the Jaguars on the road. That got everybody starting to think. C.J. Stroud's looked good through the first few weeks of the season as well as a rookie quarterback out of Ohio State. So maybe the Texans aren't as bad as most people thought they were or thinking they are. But here's the facts, my friend. The offensive line was banged up. Nobody on that line. It's a rookie quarterback. It's a defense that gave up big plays throughout the early part of the season. It's a game the Steelers simply should have just won today, and they didn't. Not only did they not win, they got their butts kicked.
Well, it was a rough day. I was at a family party. My nephew, Callan, he has his birthday, so we were over at family's house, and within like the first 8 minutes, of course, everybody's screaming that we stink. And then it was like, Kenny Pickett, what are we going to do? Then Canada. Then, like, I don't know, man. I feel terrible that, like, the Steelers are at this position. But, like, by the beginning of the second quarter, someone said, hey, I heard Taylor Swift's going to be at the Jets game tonight. And the whole conversation, like, changed. And then it was like, oh, yeah, I saw that Travis Kelce went to dinner last night with a bunch of guys. And then Patrick Mahomes' wife went to dinner with Taylor. And then someone said, hey, did anyone see the Toy Story game? And then it was like, oh, my God, we still didn't score yet. Oh, my God, we didn't do anything. And it was like, wow, it's 16-0 at halftime. And, like, it was just a bunch of nothing, man. And I really think beautiful weather mixed with terrible football. Man, I mean, it doesn't get any worse. Dave just said Canada and Austin have to go, offensive and defensive coordinator. I don't disagree that there's problems, but are we gonna unleash the whole team here? Are the Rooney's gonna release Tomlin and we're gonna bring in J.J. Watt home on the plane to be our head coach?
Not at this point. But this was something that after last season, everybody in Steeler Nation and the media, everybody was talking about that there should have been changes made, and there really wasn't. The Steelers doubled down. They kept Canada. I think Austin way too early. But, though there are 2 games now that our defense got completely crushed, the 49ers and again today. But so maybe that argument does start to heat up a little bit more here in the upcoming weeks, depending on what they do. But I think just a lot of problems, man. They boistered up this football team through free agency, especially the offensive line. They brought in Patrick Peterson, who they thought had another year or 2 maybe left in him, and nothing has panned out. The offensive line's getting pushed around again. They look almost worse than they did last year. And last year they were pretty bad.
Well, and look, man, how about all the stuff on Watt, right? So for the first 3 games, we've said, boy, if it wasn't for TJ, well, TJ kind of took a Sunday off today, and we don't have shit.
Yeah.
I mean, we're empty, man. Like, it's amazing. We need our all-pro future Hall of Famers to, like, have these Superman type games. There's no one to back him up. Where was Highsmith at? Where was anybody to back him up and give him a little bit of help today?
And they have Roberts in the middle that they brought in through free agency, as well as Holcomb, who had strong camps. Everybody was really excited about those 2 guys in the middle, and they haven't panned out so far either. Once again, they're showing their age. Holcomb a little bit better than Roberts, but man, Roberts struggling out there as well. Makes a couple big hits here and there, but his coverage is lacking what they need at middle linebacker, something we talked to Ryan Shazier about this past season, or past week, I should say, that they just simply haven't replaced him since he retired, got hurt. But that was more on display today once again, man, that their middle linebackers are continuing to struggle. But I'm mostly concerned right now, too, with Broderick Jones at the tackle position, their number 1 pick, top 15 pick. And you can see why he hasn't played so far, right? If he would have come out of the gates and been a starter on day 1, which I think they thought they were going to get, there was a reason why he wasn't starting. And I think today you saw that. He got blown up a few times in his really first NFL big chunk of snaps. He's had a few snaps prior to today, I think like 4 or 5, but today he went in for the injured Dan Moore, and he struggled.
Well, here's my prediction of Steeler drama that's going to happen. Starting tonight, we're going to hear, should Mitch Trubisky be the starting quarterback as we find out what happens to Pickett? And let me just say, on a human level, I hope this guy's okay. As a quarterback, I hope he's okay. On every level, I hope this guy's okay. But it's going to start tonight. Should Trubisky come in? Wasn't he the plan all along anyway? Where's Mason Rudolph? Where's Colin Kaepernick? Where's Ben Roethlisberger? In typical Pittsburgh way, we're gonna go wild with it. But the next one is going to be. There was an article that I read this morning. Joey Porter Jr. said that he is being patient. He's waiting for his moments, but he's chomping at the bit, and he's just waiting from the people upstairs to give him a try. In typical Porter fashion, we are going to hear from Joey Sr., Joey Jr., put me in. And, dude, I think this is like where Tomlin can't control these players.
You absolutely need to put Joey Porter in, though, at this point. Patrick Peterson's getting beat off.
Agree.
Just awful.
I agree.
Each and every week. I think you put Porter in, trial by fire, and I think you'll see him do better than what Peterson's been able to put on the field the last few weeks. So I think that's a no-brainer from that standpoint. But, yeah, you're right. That's an interesting one because, who else are you going to go with other than Trubisky? Mason Rudolph? Is that the debate's going to start now? You want to see Rudolph in there instead of Trubisky?
Wait, we're that desperate? We want Pickett gone. We're that desperate now that we want to see Trubisky battle it out with Rudolph in practice. Come on.
Though it is interesting, Pickett, especially down the stretch of last season, I thought looked really good those last 4 or 5 games. He was mobile, he was making plays, making throws. He brought him back twice in the late. There was a lot of very optimistic about Kenny Pickett going into the season, but man, for 4 games he has struggled, and I just can't tell yet if it's just a matter of how bad the line is played. He's running for his life. The running game simply can't get going, so that puts more pressure on him in the passing game. Deontay Johnson's out, but man, it's just the entire offense is just awful right now. And then here's the other thing. As bad as the defense played today, man, here's the other thing I will say to you. They were gassed because they were constantly on the field. When you are 3 and out consecutively, like our offense was throughout this football game, and your defense cannot get a break and cannot get off the football field, eventually they're going to break. And they broke.
And hopefully nothing broke with Kenny Pickett's knee.
Yeah. Right. And Pat Fryermuth went out as well with a hamstring injury. And you know as well as I do, when you get a hamstring injury, that could linger all season long. So, boy, oh boy, for a team that went through all of training camp, all of the preseason, all of the offseason with no injuries, Deontay Johnson's out. Now Kenny Pickett could be out. Dan Moore, their offensive tackle's out. It's starting to pile up. Harvin, their punter, who did awful the first game, but the last 3 games was fabulous. By the way, his replacement today, I thought Wing did pretty well. I didn't think he did a bad job at all coming in for Harvin. But now the injuries are starting to pile up. They're 2-2. Though I will say this, my friend, after they lost to the 49ers, we said the same thing. If they get it right against the Browns and win that game, maybe not all's forgiven, but there's a big relief. I will say this. If they could get back on track and beat the Ravens next week and go 3-2 with having beaten the Ravens going into the bye week, Steeler Nation will calm down again.
Yes. Well, a lot has to happen before that, for sure, right? Everything has to kind of come together a little bit. And that's a big if we can even compete with Baltimore, who looks, when you've, and for the limited time that I've seen just highlights of what they're doing, it's limited, but they look good, right?
And the Ravens are a team that have been just completely wiped out by injuries the last few seasons, but yet they continue to be competitive. Once again, this year, a bunch of injuries, but they won again today. Yeah, they're coming in here 3-1 next week, and I'm sure they have that on their mind as well. If they can beat us in a division game, man, we'll be 2-3 way down. Now, things aren't as bad for us as they are for the Bengals, though, I will say. Bengals got beat up today, so we're not the Bengals right now, but man, it's probably Cincinnati, and then we're like right there with them right now in this division. The Browns are ahead of us.
It feels like everyone's ahead of us at the moment, right? It feels like everyone is ahead of us at the moment. Well, hey, I see that our special guest is ready to go. Everyone knows her from Channel 4 for all these fabulous years of Behind the Desk, and she's with us today to give her perspective. Let's welcome to Oneburg, the one and only Sally Wiggin. Hi, Sally.
Hey, how are you guys? Oh God, wait! I didn't get to watch. What happened to the Bengals? Because I was turning on every time during the halftime. They were going through the NFL, and I was so busy trying to make sure that I knew how to do this. I wasn't paying attention, and then I was trying to listen to Billy. Billy is such a dear friend, and we just celebrated him. He was inducted into the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame. And I was there a couple of nights ago with him, and he was fabulous. I was inducted in 2015, probably because I was an old woman.
Come on.
They're always looking for old women to induct. That's awful. I shouldn't say that, but it was a big honor. So I was so excited to be there. And I don't think people realize Billy is an extraordinary speaker. And it's not just football or basketball. His abilities to ad lib are in my opinion, in the business, he could have easily been networked. But he loved Pittsburgh and he wanted to stay here. One of the guys I first worked with when I got into the business was a man named Tony Bruno. Do you guys know who Tony Bruno is?
Of course.
Yes, of course. Sports.
Okay. All right. I worked with him when he moved to Birmingham because he thought he could break into hockey play-by-play. He was from Philly, but he wasn't going to break into doing the Flyers. So he thought he could break in with a team called the Birmingham Bulls in the old WHA. And when the WHA merged with the NHL, the Birmingham Bulls didn't get into the NHL because I think it was considered too small a market. So he went back to Philly for a while. He was national for a while. He was on ESPN. In fact, Mike Golick. It was Bruno and Golick. And so they came and did a show here in Pittsburgh. And so I got to see Tony back then when he was still on. And then he decided to quit because he didn't feel they offered him enough money. I think I'm remembering that correctly. He walked away, but he's an extraordinary guy. And he wants, you're thinking, where is she going with this? But there is a point to it.
It's fine. We love it. Go ahead.
What happened is he once said of Billy, and I heard him say this on national radio, that Billy was the best play-by-play guy in the country. I eventually told Billy that, and he is. He's an extraordinary play-by-play man, and even at, God, is he 80 now? Is he 79?
Wow,
he's 80.
I think
he is extraordinary. It's really, and he's just as good in basketball as he is football. But absolutely. I was listening, and instead of being a homer, he was very honest with, I was sick about today's game. This one thus far looks as bad as I've seen them this year. What do you guys think?
Well, there's no doubt about it, Sally, right? I mean, if you do the report card, which we try to do, I mean, it's F's across the board, right? And there's
Yeah.
I don't see where we're coming out. Ed is the eternal Steeler optimist. I don't see I don't see at this moment where we turn the corner.
Someone said something about the Ravens. No. And now the only way is if Joe Burrow, whom I love because he's so handsome. I don't, you know what? I could care less about sports. It's just who's good looking and who isn't. That's all. I mean, I'm just kidding. I'm really just kidding. But I really like Joe Burrow. And if he continues not to be 100%, we might be able. Have we played them? Yes, thus far.
No,
we played them. So we have to play them twice.
Yeah, it's still got to get the Bengals twice. Ellie, good to see you again, by the way. And
good to see you, Ed.
Just a couple things real quick to get caught up. The Bengals lost 27-3 on the road at Tennessee today, so they're now 1-3.
Mike Vrabel, though. I love Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, big win for the Titans. And just before we get back into the Steelers discussion, I grew up a huge Bill Hillgrove fan. When I was a kid, I caught the tail end of Jack Fleming's career calling Steeler games.
Yeah.
And right when Hillgrove came over from Pitt football and basketball to start doing the Steeler games with Byron Cope. Of course, I watched all those guys with you growing up as well. And a huge fan. But anyhow, my whole point of telling you this, Bill Hillgrove was the reason why I wanted to go into broadcasting and play-by-play for football specifically. Something I've done for 25 years with high school football here across Western Pennsylvania. So he's the guy. I completely agree with everything you said. I saw his speech on the news the other night for his Hall of Fame. He's sharp.
Oh, you did?
He's great. Yeah, they showed highlights of it on the news. He did a great job. It was awesome. He is definitely still in his prime, even though he's 80.
Were you there, Sally, for his induction?
Oh, are you kidding? I literally would have. I would have swum through a frozen river to get there. I don't know where I was trying to think of the most extreme thing I could think of.
Yeah, right.
Brian, now that I am seeing your face, I connected it. What's happening is living in COVID, being retired, not having any kind of a system. I don't get to use my mind as much. And if you don't use your mind enough, I mean, I do nonprofit work and I do work as a docent at the zoo, but it's not the same as writing copy and memorizing it every day. And
do you miss the day-to-day?
Stand-ups. No, I don't miss it, but I'm finding that my mind is missing it. And because I don't memorize. And that's what you have to do when you're doing a stand-up. And it's kind, and I thought, oh my God, why am I losing this? And it's because I'm not using it. You lose it, either, use it or lose it. And that's beginning to happen once in a while to me. And when I see your face, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not going to swear. Don't worry.
You're like a face so ugly. It all came back to me.
No, it's not ugly. I just remember you, which stuns me. And I remember Ed also. But what happens is I can't place where I knew people.
Well, Sally, everyone knows you, right? Everywhere you go, someone gives you a memory of something.
But I don't know me anymore.
Well, it could be, right?
I don't know me. Is that the right case? Wait, predicate not. Wait, I don't know. No is an action verb. Right. Let's not go down that.
Well, you're asking the two wrong guys on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me tell you.
But everyone knows you, right? So everyone has a memory of you, and that has to be tough because they want you to remember these moments.
Young people, Brian, don't have any idea who I am. None.
No.
And that's okay. And that's okay with me. That's okay. Yeah.
Well, that's funny you say that because the reason that you and I reconnected was on Oneberg, I sent you a message. My son and his friend, we did a video where we showed him, both of them, pictures of people who are famous Pittsburghers. And you were the first one. I was. Huh? Well, my son's friend said Kamala Harris, which is probably more about him than it is you.
Kamala Harris?
I think these kids need school.
Biracial? Do I look biracial?
No, these kids need school.
Oh
they
my
need school.
God.
Yeah. But
I usually get, you know what? People used to complain that I was so white.
That's right.
What I mean is my makeup. Because I didn't like to wear dark makeup. I wanted to be just my color. But my color was, I was super pale. Oh my gracious. I'm so British and a little bit of Scott. And so,
Okay.
yeah, there's nothing about me that would look even I'm trying to think, even Hispanic. No, I mean, oh God, I
Hey,
wish
Well,
I had color to my face.
well, at the end of it, I said, that was Sally Wiggin. And he goes, oh, yeah. Now he's 12, right? So
Well,
it is
why would he
generational,
know
right?
who I am?
Well, because people know your name. And he did say, oh, that's the newscaster. So you're still there. And in that highly coveted 9 to
problem.
14-year-old demographic, Sally, you're still the newscaster.
Well, he probably also remembers our COVID show, and the three of us were on during COVID too.
Sure.
That
See,
was
do you know what, Ed? I didn't remember the COVID show. I didn't.
Is that well?
When
maybe you're
do you
lucky.
remember when it was during COVID?
It was during
Oh.
that April, because we did 30 days. We did a 30-day online show, so it would have been April of 2020, I would think.
In 2020.
Yeah,
Sure,
3 years ago.
right in the heat.
Over
of
3 years
COVID.
ago.
The
Yeah.
shutdown.
Do you know how I had not done Zooms? I had no idea how to do a Zoom, and I'm technologically just bereft of any sense of competency. And I did so many of them, I didn't remember them. I was just sitting in my house. And do you know what? I think that for people who were older and, retired, I think that probably affected our memories some, because it's devoid of anything tactile.
Sure.
You're not, it's a screen, and you're closed in and not able to reach out and associate someone with anything but a screen. You're not seeing them, you're not watching their movements. And I think I think Zoom is not a great way of, I mean, it's been extraordinary because businesses have been able to conduct work. I know a lot of people who never went back to work. They do it through Zoom.
Right.
But I don't find it's a really good way of what's the word I want? Of communicating and then remembering what you communicated.
And just communicating too. Communicating with people in person too. Just
well, that's what I'm
somebody.
saying. Exactly.
Yeah,
when you're not communicating with somebody.
Right.
I think because when you're communicating with somebody in person, you're identifying them with a place and with and you're seeing their bodies 3-dimensionally. I don't know. I may be just making this up because I can't remember shit anymore. Can I say shit on this show?
Sure, of course.
Sure.
I won't say
you can say anything you want, Sally.
That's pretty much our description of today's Steeler game is. So that's pretty much our description for the game today.
Guys, am I exaggerating this? It's as bad as anything that I've seen them do recently in the past 4 years. I mean,
certainly ugly.
It was becoming so bad. I mean, because Billy will look for the shining moment in everything. And I was watching it on television and going back and forth between listening to Billy and watching it on TV. And you could not even he could find anything. Is there anything about that you could I think the offensive, one of the things they were talking about, the O-line. I've always loved the O-line. The O-line, the offensive line, I often found was overlooked by defensive linemen and a defense. You talked about a running game. You talked about a quarterback. You talked about, a receiver. And then you talked about the defense. You would talk a lot about, you might not talk as much about safeties and defensive backs. Defensive backs are safeties, but about, cornerbacks and I was an idiot for a minute, about your cornerbacks and your safety, your strong safety, your free safety and what have you. And then you talk about linebackers, especially the ones that have come out of Pittsburgh for numerous periods and decades. But you don't often talk about the offensive linemen. They were always my favorites. Two of my favorite players in the 90s when we went to the Super Bowl, we lost to Dallas thanks to Larry Brown, who's one of the few quarterbacks or receivers. He won the most valuable player in that Super Bowl. Larry Brown.
Yeah,
Was it Larry
you're
Brown?
right. Yeah, defensive back.
Wait. Was he a cornerback or was he a linebacker?
Yep. Yeah, he was a corner. Yeah, he intercepted
He was
Neil
a
O'Donnell
corner,
twice.
and how many balls did he intercept?
Yeah, but Neil O'Donnell should have got LVP for that game. They always should have awarded him the LVP instead of giving Brown the MVP.
I felt sorry for Neil O'Donnell. I did, but it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. He did throw the balls, but
he did.
But the fact that they couldn't find anybody else but a defensive back to give the MVP to, oh my God.
Well, Sally, let me say this. I think the Steelers' problems and actually tie into somewhat parallel to you in the way that, hear me out, you can't replace a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback in 2 years. We are still missing the Ben Roethlisberger effect, even though he was near the end of his career and he did have some moments where he wasn't up to par. However, he was still greatness. He was still poetry in motion. And I think people's expectations is that can happen overnight. It can't. It's the same way my parents watch Channel 4 and say it's never been the same since Sally. It's because it takes time to build legacy. Your thoughts, Miss Wiggin?
Okay. It takes time to build legacy. It doesn't take time to build quality. You can have people of quality without having legacy. And the people who complain about legacy, and please no offense to your parents, but I'm probably older than they are, okay? But the people who complain about wanting legacy are generally really old. I mean,
well, then let's talk about quality because that goes hand in hand, right? Roethlisberger.
How old do you think I am?
28.
No, be serious. Did I tell you, Brian, how old I was?
You didn't. You didn't.
I didn't. So
Ed, go ahead. Answer that. Take a guess, Ed.
Well, if I can Google it real quick, I could probably find out.
No, don't do that. Take a guess.
Google.
And don't try
63.
to guess.
63. 63.
I'm 71.
Oh, get out. Well, I just gave you a compliment then. And I'm being serious.
No, you didn't dare go higher because you didn't want to offend me. I'm not an idiot. Well, no,
we didn't know we
no,
were
I didn't think you're 71.
Whenever I say I'm not an idiot,
you've been.
You're really an idiot.
You've retired for a while now, though, right? How many years have you been?
5
retired?
years.
10?
5. I think it is 5. Wait, I retired
in.
I retired the end of November 2018.
Okay, that makes sense.
We're almost in November, and this is 2023, so it would be 5 years.
Okay,
5 years.
Yeah. Well,
I never
Ed, when did we? No, you look great, Sally.
Listen, I had a heart attack when I was 48.
Is that right?
You told us.
Trust me, I wouldn't make that up, Brian.
Yeah.
You don't make that.
Well, what year did we see you? Ed and I saw you after the opening game in Washington. You were there for WTAE. That had to be 2017.
It was.
That was about right.
It was, and you know what? They wanted me. It was really kind of a mistake. They asked me if I would announce my upcoming retirement at that game because it was going to be my last, my final year there. I was not. How do we structure it? We structured it that final year, I was going to only do a certain number of Chronicles / they were going to give me my last year with I would do 4 or 5 events.
Okay.
And they would continue to pay me the same, but that's how they would wean me out of. I was and I could choose between Chronicles and Steeler games, but there was only one Steeler game, and they talked me into not doing it. I don't know why, into not doing it and making my last Steeler game was it November or December of 2017. So I was
Okay.
going into my final year where I was only going to do, and I wouldn't have to put in time. I could come in, do pieces, and leave. I was not doing a daily. That's how they structured my leaving. And so, oh my God, wait,
Is-
oh my God, who is that woman?
Who is that? Who is that beautiful woman and that ogre that grabbed her
No, that
after the
woman who's
game?
got one eyebrow that's up and the other one down. No, if I don't smile, they're the same. But for some reason, there are more muscles in one side of my head. Than the
No,
other.
that is crazy. And I think were you with was she with Guy Junker or was it Andrew Stocking? I remember Guy.
It was
We
both
said,
of
"Hey,
them.
great to see you," and
Both.
he said, "Make sure
Wait.
you guys have an Uber."
Both.
Wait, now was this the game in Cincinnati?
This was the game. This was the first game of the season. They opened up on Monday Night Football in Washington at the Redskins at the time.
Oh my God, I remember
And-
this. Wait a minute.
Yep.
Wait. Was this 2017?
Yes.
I think.
Oh, that is. Did you ever see that video when a jet came over?
Yes.
There's a video of me afterwards. Oh my God, was it? No, it wasn't after the game. It was right. Oh no, it was after our show. Our show was out in this horrible parking lot with a fence, and the background was a stadium, and they didn't ever want to do it there again because it was so ugly. And we went out to tape something, and these jets flew over, and I screamed. It scared the hell out of me, and I screamed. And there's video of that. I
have to
jumped
find
up
it.
and was screaming. But that was in Washington. It was a horrible place to shoot.
Well, it's in the middle of nowhere too. There's not a lot of there's nothing really aesthetic
Right.
about.
No, and our
Maryland.
bosses complained about how ugly it was, and that's the sweater, that yellow sweater. But oh my God, I wish I could find me screaming because somebody shot it. So you came out to our thing afterwards or before?
We were good, Brian.
That was after the game. Ed and I were heading back into DC or wherever we were staying, and we saw you and Guy Junker, and I think and Andrew Stocking. And I think at one point they thought, okay, here comes two drunk guys that want to try to grope Sally. Now they may not have been wrong, Sally.
Guy might care, but Andrew wouldn't give a shit.
Well, we were on our way out, and we saw you guys. Hey, we're from Pittsburgh. We went over. We started talking to you guys. The three of you were awesome. And it was a short conversation.
I vaguely remember it. What were we doing standing out there?
You guys were wrapping up. You were leaving. You were all done. It was exactly what you described. There was a setup right outside the stadium with a gate or a fence.
Yeah, and it was pretty ugly. They said we're never going to do it there again.
Yeah,
because it was just, you could tell we were just in a parking lot.
Sally, I also ran into you at now this is the new thing is where did we see Sally? And you were doing a piece on Mark Bruner, and I know that you and Mark Bruner are somewhat close. Who do you keep as your favorite Steeler of all time that you got to get to know?
Oh, that's tough. I can't.
Okay.
I can't do that. I can tell you people that I adored. I loved Dermontti Dawson.
No, right.
He was wonderful to interview. And he was always he hit me in the head with a divot. It was at a golf tournament at Laurel Valley, which is an amazing golf course at which to play. And it may have been the Caring Foundation may have had a golf tournament. It was some kind of golf tournament where there were a lot of players there. Lynn Swan was there. Dermontti Dawson was there. I think Dermontti was finished playing. I'm not sure because back then the Steelers had an affiliation with the Caring Place and the Caring Foundation. We would do, and that part of it was Heinz, but that's where I saw a naked Steeler is doing a Caring Place shoot.
What Steeler was it?
Someone who didn't last for very long. He was our first round draft pick back in 96, 95. Wait. It was Merrill Hodge and Carnell Lake and I were the Caring team captains. and we were in the old Three Rivers Stadium, and he came out of a shower naked.
Okay.
He didn't know. They were supposed to check and make sure that there was no one in the showers. and my eyes went over to him coming out, and he just looked stunned, and he turned around and he ran back. And he didn't even have a towel on. And so Carnell, God bless him, Carnell was just didn't even move. And Carnell was on this side of me, and Merrill was on this side of me. And you can hear Merrill, and it was around 95, 96, because it was around the time we went to the first Steeler Bowl. I mean, his first Super Bowl that I was involved with. And you could, Carnell didn't move, but on the other side of me, I could feel Merrill shaking, and he finally couldn't compose himself. He literally fell on the ground, rolling around, laughing.
He loved it.
That's how I met Huey Richardson. He didn't do very well. Did he last more than a couple of years? Do you
Wait, who was it? Chewy Richardson?
Huey Richardson.
Oh, Ed, are you up on him?
That's the early. I think it was the late 80s.
So I saw him naked. Now after that, I did not want to go into the locker rooms after our games, because we had Monday night games and sometimes Thursday, but they were always games that were ESPN games that we took because we were able to do that, because the Hearst Corporation owned 20% of ESPN. And Hearst has always refused to sell that. They tried to buy it, and they never gave it up. So we were able to take those games on Monday night or Sunday night and show them. And that's how we did our Monday night football games. And we would show it on our air. If I'm not mistaken, ESPN was not happy about us doing that, because we were a large market then. I just found out from Jim Parsons, who's now the news director, that Pittsburgh has, when I came here, we had just fallen from 9 to 10.
Okay.
And then we began to plummet with the death of heavy industry here, with people fleeing to find jobs. As Scott Paulson once said, it's not that there was nothing here for people. It's not that we just all of a sudden became small. It was just there weren't any jobs. And the reason that we shrank is people were fleeing to find a way to live when heavy industry died. So that was kind of, I came at that point. And then somebody found out, a woman named Debbie Klein, Debbie Cassini Klein. She was one of our big producers back in the early 90s. She knew that I had been married to a former Major League Baseball player who had played college football, and that I had loved sports since I was little. I would always watch football and was a huge football fan. And I had been a swimming coach for my first job ever coming out of graduate school. And so she suggested me to be a female co-host with a guy named Tony Zarella, who was working for us at the time. And I think he's in Cleveland. He eventually went to Denver, then went back to Cleveland. But that's how I ended up doing these games, is because she knew that I had been married to somebody, but that I'd also been a fan myself. But I studied a lot. I did, so that I would be, and I studied plays. I didn't want to sound stupid at all.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that always pleased me and made me feel like I'd accomplished a little bit is that the people who respected me, or at least they said they did, and they were so kind to me and so helpful, were the newspaper guys. People like Ed Bouchette, Gene Collier, Ron Cook. They were so kind to me. And I grew to respect them. And one of the ways I prepared was I read all of their stuff, read all of it.
Okay. What about the, and Sally, we said we only were going to steal you for 10 minutes, and you've given us so much.
Because I can't shut up, because I've had nothing but Diet Coke all day long.
I just wanted to ask you about WTAE's 65th anniversary, and I saw a photo the other day.
What 65th anniversary? I know nothing about this.
What? No, it's a picture of the original anchors, which was you, Don Cannon, Paul Long, Joe DiNardo, Bill Hillgrove, Stan Savran. It was a black and white photo. Do you remember when that photo was taken?
1987. I had been a Monday through Friday anchor for only 1 year.
Okay.
I was passed over the beginning of 86 when they put the first woman on. Her name was Colleen Needles. 6 months later, she was gone.
Okay.
Wow.
Because why?
Because there were people who wanted me,
There it is.
and there were others
There
who
it
did
is.
not want me.
Okay.
But the people who wanted me won out, and she also wanted to leave. She did not like Pittsburgh. And so
Okay.
this was taken in 87, a
And
year
do you
after I was made.
And did it feel like something good was starting to happen when you were with these guys? Did it feel different?
No, it felt safe, even though they teased me all the time.
Okay.
I mean, mercilessly teased me. Joe was very kind to me. I adored Stan. Billy has always been wonderful to me, and Paul. Paul was coming towards nearing kind of retirement, and I really loved Don. Don, I don't know if people knew, Don was a brilliant man, but went through, had his demons, just like. I mean, I'm very honest. I had to be. I went through several recoveries. Some of it showed on the air. And I almost lost my job. They didn't know what it was. And
Wow.
I was not, and I wanted this woman who's an amazing, her name was Carol Cooper. Richard Liebner is very famous, represented Dan Rather, Diane Sawyer, and she was his wife and represented at the time, mostly local. And then she began to represent big names. And she became my agent in 1985. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh my God, you don't look like the same person." Because she had turned me down to represent me. And she said, "What happened?" And I said, "I stopped drinking." I said,
Wow.
I'm a recovering alcoholic. And I began to drink again at some point. And then I quit 14 years ago. And I've been clean since then. But
congratulations.
Yeah. And I'm pretty honest about it.
And do you feel like it saved your career by making that decision? If you wouldn't have stopped drinking, you feel like it would have been over?
Well, it saved my career, but it also saved my life. I have heart disease, and I came by it genetically. Both my parents had it. My father died at 51. My mother made it to 77, but my grandfather on my mother's side died at 44.
Well,
so the fact that I'm 71 is quite remarkable. But I'm addicted to Diet Coke now. Once an addict, always an addict. You just change around what you become addicted to.
I'm a Diet Coke lover too, Sally.
Well,
I get it.
Absolutely.
I get it.
Hey, Sally, talk about Stan Savran while you have a moment too. Who, of course, we lost here recently.
I'll start to cry.
And
I will start to cry.
Well, then we will.
He was so brilliant.
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah, I had a chance to intern at the old Fox Sports Net when we were in college and got to know Stan and Guy. And Stan was tremendous. I'll give you a quick story. Brian knows this too. When we were at Point Park together, we used to do some radio there, and we had a telethon where we raised money for a nonprofit. And Stan and Guy both would come and do that show with us. And I'll never forget it. The 1 year that we went to go do it, Stan called. I'm a college student. Called me and apologized that he could not make it and felt so bad about it. And that does never escape my mind, because who does that? Who calls a college kid and apologizes that he can't make a show because of a personal matter? And that just always stuck in my head of what a fantastic human being that was. And always enjoyed, especially the last few years, listening to him on the Steeler postgame show with Charlie Batch.
I am glad he got to do that, because he was so good with Charlie. Charlie's having his nonprofit thing in November, and I'm going to miss it, damn it. But, oh God, it's tough. I mean, we talked a lot. He and I talked a lot about Stan as right after he died. I saw him a couple of days before. I had gone to see him in Providence Point, the rehab place. At that juncture, I mean, it was pretty clear that the mass in his lungs was not treatable. And then I talked to him on the phone. We knew he didn't have much time left. Guy was the person who kept me informed almost all the time. It was really hard for Guy. He and Stan were really close. They were such an amazing team. Two really brilliant sportscasters and journalists, not sportscasters, journalists. And so I went over to the house, and his sisters were there. And Phil Bork was there. And I didn't want to go in because I thought that was too taxing for Stan at the end. And Phil came out and said, no, he wants you to go in. He wants to see you. And the thing about it, I was trying not to cry, but the thing about it is Stan decided, and I think he must have done this with everyone who came in to see him, told them what they should do to be good to themselves and for their lives. Instead of talking about his life, he talked to them about theirs.
Wow.
And I realized when I walked out that that's what he probably did to everyone who walked into the room.
Right.
And it was remarkable that he was able, I don't know, he focused outward.
What did he offer? What did he offer you, Sally?
I don't even know. I'll be honest, Brian, I was crying too hard. I said, I do remember saying, stop. This is about you and what you've given. And that's all. And then I just remember I didn't want to cry, but he was making me cry. But I'm sure he did it with everybody, and it was hard for everybody.
Well,
and,
we sure miss him. That's for sure.
Oh my God. And he was he could be viciously funny. I mean, he had that capacity. And sometimes he was his own worst enemy because he did not, if he thought something was wrong, or if he didn't hesitate to call it out. And when it came, I would never say that he could be diplomatic, but when it really called for it, he didn't want to hurt people. I mean, did you ever listen to him on DVE whenever they would have him on? He was
every Monday morning.
Yep. Yeah, he was hilarious. And
straight to the point, and just was so good at giving the analysis of what happened the previous day for the Steelers. Just everything that I was thinking, and I'm sure other people were thinking. He said it. It was just exactly.
Well, and that got him in trouble sometimes. I mean, it did. Sure. But he eventually found a home with Guy on, what was it? It became so many different things. KBL, AT&T, blah 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 blah. He found a home there where that ability was appreciated.
Absolutely.
and wasn't punished. Does that make sense? Of course,
absolutely.
He had to find a spot, right? He had to find a spot.
That makes sense, like you're 2 years old. Of course it is.
And I would think that Stan's recap of today's game would be brutal.
Oh God!
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
I mean, it became so bad that I stopped feeling sorry for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you only can create that moment yourself, right? There only is that moment where you just go, "This was on us."
Yeah, but I just really admire Mike Tomlin. I don't know. Is it the fact that Kevin Colbert's gone? Is that what the difference is?
Ed?
I think Omar Khan had a pretty fantastic offseason. So at least we thought, right, on paper and through training camp.
I think Omar Khan is fabulous.
Yeah, I thought, on paper they looked very good, but these first 4 weeks, there's a lot more question marks. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Sally, I hate to cut it off. I know you said you needed to be out of here by 5. And we just can't thank you enough for your time today.
Did I say I had to be out of here by 5?
Yes.
I lied. I just was afraid I wasn't going to have a good time. That's not why. I thought, you know what? one of the things that's happening, if I don't look at my calendar, I forget I have something to do. I can't tell
Okay.
you how many things I've missed recently.
Oh
And
no.
I think it's, you guys aren't old, but do you find out that you have to look at a calendar? Because see, there's no structure to the day. Like, I don't know that. I mean, like, do I have to do something today? I don't know. I don't think but I mean, if you have one more what the hell is here? Good to talk. Wait about that. Wait. You're here's my wait, let me just look at my calendar. I mean,
Okay.
I will go, and I know how do you have to pay for the time you have?
No, we don't.
What the heck?
We don't. We don't.
What
We're paying the
I'm
bills as
watching
we
the
talk to you.
reruns of Yellowstone. I'm such a
Okay.
Yellowstone freak, but I can't. There are some reruns that are on Paramount Plus, which I have, but now CBS is putting reruns on, and I'm like,
They are
have I
right.
seen
They
this
are.
rerun twice or 3 times? Are you watching Wheel of Time? I'm all about watching goofy stuff on television.
No, I love right now the Blue Zone. Are you watching that?
What's the Blue Zone?
The Blue Zone is on Netflix, and a documentarian has found like 9 or 10 places on Earth that have the most octogenarians, and they're going to figure out why are so many people in each specific place on Earth living to be over 100 years old. You would love it.
One
Really
of the places is Okinawa, I think.
Yes, that is right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all different. They're all different. And the one that's the most fascinating, I think Ed and I were talking about this, was it's somewhere in Brazil, but the church, and there's still a large Roman Catholic population in that town. The only Roman Catholic church is on a hill, and you have to walk up like 90 steps a day. And most of them go to church twice a day, and that's their exercise. So it's built in. It's fascinating. You would love it.
But you
I'd love to hear
can't
what you
tell me
think.
Brazil is a dictatorship now, isn't it? I would think I think I'm not sure. I don't think it's.
I'm not sure either.
Don't you remember a lot of people didn't go to the Olympics because of what was it? Zika, the
Zika virus. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Wasn't it mosquitoes or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm watching. But I agree with you that I did see Yellowstone is back on CBS because the writer's strike has changed everything. There's no programming, but Yellowstone and Ed loves Yellowstone, but Yellowstone on basic cable, it's just not going to be the same.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it may be earlier. I watched. They said it was the first half of the 5th season, and it was maybe going to be the last time Kevin Costner was in it.
Right.
So I watched it, and I thought, oh, I've seen all of these. Okay, this is not new. But then I thought they're going to be showing like season 1 or what have you. So I think, well, no, listen. I don't know. Like, I watched The Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime. I watched
What's that about?
It's a fantasy. It's popular. And then, do you get Amazon?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
I have. It's a series. I think it's only 8 episodes, and it's Emily Blunt, who I love. I just love her so much. It's called The English. And it's about Native Americans, and it's about this Native American scout who guides her. And I think it's 8, maybe it's 6 episodes, or maybe it's a movie. I can't remember if it's a movie or it's really, really good. It's called The English. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think
it's on Amazon Prime.
I don't. I think we should start a new segment, Brian, on One Bird, where Sally comes on and gives us her reviews of streaming shows. I
love that idea.
I love it. It's out of my wheelhouse because I don't watch that much programming because I'm either doing this or
I do it.
I'm coaching ridiculous. Sports. So yeah.
Well, Sally, are you watching the morning show on Apple TV?
You know what's interesting? No, you know what? People, I'm gonna confess, I didn't watch it because there was a road not taken for me to go to New York in 1986.
Wow.
And I can't watch it because I hate myself people say, oh, you would have left Pittsburgh. And I said, I can't believe I'm saying this. I should have, but I never would have gotten to cover football if I had.
What was your offer? Was it a national morning show?
No. It was, but it would have been that it would have opened the door to CBS. It would have been, they were going to start, the guy had tried to hire me. He had hired me in Miami, and I turned that down because Pittsburgh was a larger market. And then just as I had accepted the job in Pittsburgh, he was going to offer me a job in Detroit, which was a larger market. And I was also offered a job the day I walked in here. I was offered a job. Where did he go? Did he just
Where
get
did Ed
sick
go?
of
Did he-
listening to me? Ed, did you
No,
just
wait,
get
hold on,
sick
sorry.
of listening to me?
No,
Okay.
no.
But anyway,
I
He
did
just
not.
turned it off. He was like, I'm done.
No, I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened.
what the F, Ed? But anyway, and so
I
so
swear I was
anyway,
just hitting something, and
Come on, Ed. Have more respect for Miss Wiggin,
I-
please.
but
I was
anyway, yeah. But so no, and I and it's so funny. I was married at the time, and he wanted me to take the job in Miami, and I didn't want, because he gambled. I didn't want to go to Miami, and there would be racetracks and what have you. So I didn't want to go there. And then I was offered, as I walked in to sign with Pittsburgh, I was offered a job in Atlanta as
Okay.
one of their anchors, and Atlanta was a smaller market. Can you imagine that?
At the
Pittsburgh
time.
Pittsburgh had
Wow.
fallen to 9 or 10, and Atlanta was 16 or 17. And I
Wow.
didn't want to stay in the South, so I said no, and I came to Pittsburgh.
And in
then-
comparison, I did radio in Atlanta in 2007, Sally, and that's market 4 now, of course. In Pittsburgh,
Atlanta
I think radio
is
market
market
27.
4 in radio.
Yes, enormous. Yeah. So
Oh
how did
my
it get you to
God.
New York? That would have
What
taken you to
happened?
New
No,
York?
what happened is that there was a woman who was hired named Colleen Needles, and I had said, okay, I'm done. You know, I'm going to look elsewhere, and she agreed. And so I had an interview with WCBS, which is an O&O of CBS.
Okay.
And that's how Joan London ended up at ABC. She was at an O&O. I think it may have been WCBS or maybe WABC. And then she moved into the network. And I was 34, so I still had time to put in a couple of years there and either stay, Mike Snyder stayed, or then go, you know. And she said to me, she said, you can be a network reporter right now, or you can go the route of being an anchor in a major market. And so I was terrified. I thought that as a network reporter, I would fail because I was too ridiculously idiotic. I had no confidence in myself, none.
Okay.
So I said, no, I'm comfortable with staying. And so then I got offered, I was about to get offered the job, and our people flew up, called me and said, don't sign anything. Colleen is leaving. We're sending our news director. They literally stuck him on a plane, bumped someone off that plane it was Thanksgiving. It was the day before Thanksgiving or 2 days. Back then, we had advertising with Allegheny, whatever it was, US Air, and they bumped some poor person so that our news director could come up and offer me the main anchor job with Don Cannon.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I
there you go.
and I remember her saying, I can get you more money in New York. And I was afraid. I was afraid to do anything. I was afraid I would fail. And I had a crush on someone I had just met.
In Pittsburgh or in New York?
No, in Pittsburgh. And I'm not going to
Okay.
say who it is. And the person, eventually I went out with a guy like a couple of years later. It didn't work out.
It was Bobby Bonilla, wasn't it, Sally? Are you ready to say that's who it was?
No. I didn't like him that much.
He was a jerk, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't a jerk. Poor Barry Bonds was a jerk.
Barry Bonds. And did you hear the news on Tim Wakefield? He passed today. The
What?
knuckleballer, the pitcher. Yes.
Oh my God.
I know he had been sick, but I didn't know.
How
Yeah,
old was he?
He's 56, brain
Oh
cancer.
my God.
Yeah, so tragedy out of baseball for sure.
Oh, that's awful. I hate to
Yeah,
hear
it's a
that.
sad one for
Well,
sure.
I mean, it was, I mean, if I had not come here, I would not have gotten to cover the NFL. I would not have gotten to go to how many Super Bowls? A bunch.
Yeah.
And B, do sports. But I covered some baseball and I covered some Stanley Cups. I would not have gone to do sports and news. Now they do it more often, but back then they didn't. There was a demarcation. And so, I mean, it was meant that I would come to Pittsburgh, I guess. And I mean, I love Pittsburgh, but now it's gone from what was 8th market, 9th market. Do you know what? They just fell out of the top 25.
Right.
Wow.
We're
Yeah,
now
it's changed.
26, and that's not good for advertising. It's really bad.
No, I think a friend of mine told me that, and when I was on B94 in 2000, a 30-second spot was $350 in the morning, and now it's 50. So that's been a
What?
significant
That's
change.
where I know you. That's where I know the voice. Yes. Oh
I know
my
you
God.
too, Sal. I know.
Oh my God.
Yes, but that's a
Oh.
significant change, right? I mean, that changes people's
Right,
lives.
and that's where I knew I recognize the freaking voice. I feel like an idiot. Oh my
Giant Brian.
We've
Giant
only been
Brian.
on for an hour, Sally.
Giant Brian.
But that's what I'm saying. My mind is gone. I can't, I'm like I was saying, well, what radio station did I do some stuff on? Oh, that's right,
Yeah, right.
and sometimes I could not remember. This is awful. I thought, does this mean I have dementia? Someone said, if you think you have dementia, you don't. But that's not necessarily true.
Is that true?
I have something called small vessel disease, and the doctor said that it might lead to dementia. But anyway, I could not remember Mike Vrabel's name. I could tell you that Mike Vrabel actually played. Coward traded him, or he ended up with New England.
Right.
Actually was a defensive player who scored a touchdown in one of the New England Super Bowls.
Right.
And then he went to the Tennessee Titans, and I always had a crush on him. So we would do our shows on the field back in the day, and they would be out there running around during pregame and what have you. And I saw him, and I said, would it be weird if I went, because he was he coaching or was he with New England? No, I think he was coaching the Tennessee Titans. And I said, would it be weird if I went over there and introduced myself? And it was, I don't know if it was one of our guys said, no, that would be really weird. Don't do it, Sally.
What?
And so I said,
Wow.
one of our guys. I said, so I won't do it, because I always thought he was very handsome. I thought,
Of course. And what a power
So
couple that would end up being.
when did he
That would
go?
have been huge.
When did he go to Tennessee to coach?
Within the last few years, I think he's been there for 5 or 6 years now, if that sounds right. As the head coach, right? Yep.
Yeah, head coach.
Yeah, he's done a great job there.
Oh, he's fabulous. He's fabulous.
Yeah, good guy. Good guy.
Yeah. Okay, I am so sorry. I've had way too much Diet Coke. But yes, Brian, that's where I recognize your voice. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I listened. I did.
I know you. I'm sure you did. I appreciate it. Thank you. And it's a joke that you would recognize me. So I'm just happy that you're here with us. It's an honor to have you on, Sally, and see you again.
Absolutely.
And you've covered everything. For wanting to give us 10 minutes, thank you for
because I've had too much caffeine.
being here. This is an advertisement for Diet Coke.
No, I had Diet Pepsi.
Oh, no. Hold everything. We were going to get $300 for that ad, and now we got $50.
This was really fun. We should go to have dinner.
Oh, I would love it.
I'm not going to pay for it all, though. You have to pay.
Brian will pay. I like that idea.
Okay, deal. I'll take it.
That's good. I like
Sally,
it.
thank you so much, and have a great evening, and thank you for your time today. It was great to see you.
This is great. If there's anything I can do to pimp this somewhere else, now I don't mean literally pimp it, but you know what I mean.
Who would have thought you literally would have pimped this?
But anyway, so no, I do want to send me an email, and so we'll go to dinner. Okay.
We would love it. Thank you so much, Sally. We'd love to see you.
Family members. I have no family. No, I'm just kidding, but I none that I would whatever. So you need to shut me off because I've had way too much caffeine.
Sally Wiggin, the greatest. Thank you so much.
You're the best.
There she is. Thank you, Sally. There she goes. She is the greatest. Wait, hold on. Wait, she's still there waving. Hold on. She's waving. I cut her off.
Make me go away.
Miss Wiggin, I apologize. I politely
said something bad.
I impolitely cut you off. Okay, goodbye.
Cutting you off.
Okay, goodbye. There she is, Sally Wiggin.
Wow.
And she's gone. And like that, she is gone.
That's it. That is a lot of energy. That is a lot of energy.
Wow.
Whether it's diet pop induced or not, but she is outstanding. And Sally is radio gold, but we're on the radio. Facebook gold, I guess you would say, right, my
Right.
friend?
Great to see her, man. She's awesome.
Made us smile on a day in which the Steelers certainly did not.
Well, look, Ed, I'm exhausted. I need to have a Diet Coke now.
Me too. I'm with you. Let's wrap her up.
So thanks to our guest, the great Miss Sally Wiggin. And are we going to take her up on the dinner invitation? I would love to go to dinner with her.
I think we should and do a One-Berg type thing. You know, whether we
Well, you want to
broadcast
film
dinner.
it.
We'll do a quick segment with her live in person. I think that would be great.
Fantastic. It would be so
Yep.
good. I'd love to.
Hey,
I'd love to dine with Sally.
We always end the post-game show with the grades. It's pretty easy today. F across the board. I don't think we have to break anything down. There's no positives. Coaching, offense, defense, special teams, whatever you want to talk about. I don't think there's any good takeaways today.
Well, look, stick with one Berg as we'll do the hard work for you this week. We're going to have a Tomlin press conference on Tuesday. I'm sure we're going to hear Kenny Pickett health update by the end of tonight. They're going to give some sort of update on it. But the longer it goes, the worse it is. If we don't hear Kenny Pickett's health update by tomorrow at noon, I think he's done for the year.
Yeah, for Steeler Nation, let's hope that's not the situation. But we'll definitely brace for that. If nothing else, you got to think Trubinsky could be your starting quarterback a week from today against the Ravens. And then you have the bye week. So, if it is anything that's just a borderline injury, they probably sit him out next week regardless, and then have an extra week with the bye week, and then he comes back after that. But we got to see we have no clue what's going on yet. So you got to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, Ed, thank you for a wonderful afternoon. It was great to see you. Thanks to all of our wonderful people here at One-Berg and oneberg.com. We're going to have a lot of, I think, great clips from this episode with Sally. She said so much.
Yeah, make sure you tune in this week on One-Berg and check that out. We'll get that out to everybody.
All right. Well, we'll do the Al Michaels goodbye. For my partner, Ed Troop, and for everyone here at the stations of One-Berg, good day from Pittsburgh, where the Steelers lose. Can't even remember, but we got the living shit kicked out of us.
30-6.
30-6. We'll